morning, America and the rest of the world. Xander J. Hobson here, stand-up comedian and entertainer, director and producer of boxing documentaries, and internet troll to those who need internet trolling. So anyway, right, before we go any farther, please subscribe, like this video, hate this video, share it. Leave a comment in the comment section. And it could be something positive like thumbs up, champ, or fuck you. You keep your opinions to yourself. But just know, if you leave something nasty, I'm going to talk about your mother and your whole goddamn family, you son of a bitch. So anyway, I've been loosely following the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin case. I say loosely because it's a pretty clear-cut case. That motherfucker killed George Floyd. Point blank, period. Nothing else to talk about. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the jury. Because there have been a number of cases where the perpetrators were clearly guilty, but they were found not guilty by the juries.
Can we all get along? Can we get along?
The Rodney King trial is one that comes to mind, and the George Zimmerman trial is another, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of others. These individuals who committed these heinous hate crimes were clearly guilty. But it all boiled down to that jury. What did the jury think? And in these cases, when the jury was convinced that these criminals didn't commit the crimes that they did, they weren't free. And it caused a lot of hard feelings. So that takes me back to the days when white men could kill black men with impunity and not be held accountable for it. Because again, often enough, you hear people say how the criminal justice system is stacked against blacks, and it is. However, it seems that if you lock a person up and charge them with a crime, you are at least trying to hold that person accountable for the crime that they committed. However, when you get a jury that doesn't convict an individual of a heinous crime that is blatant, it is not the criminal justice system's fault. It is that jury. And folks should keep that in mind. Now, hopefully, you have a jury on this Derek Chauvin, George Floyd case that is capable of doing the right thing. They say when a person is tried in a criminal case, they give him a jury of his peers. Well, obviously, the jury in the Rodney King case was a jury of all of those policemen's peers who beat Rodney King that day, because they seen absolutely nothing wrong with them guys beating Rodney King the way they did. When George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin, he was given a jury of his peers, and it was clear that that jury didn't see anything wrong with George Zimmerman killing Trayvon Martin. So I stress, folks, it's not the criminal justice system, it's the jury. So keep that in mind. Does Derek Chauvin have a jury of his peers? A bunch of folks who hate African Americans and think that we all should be killed? Or does Derek Chauvin have a jury of decent Americans who see Derek Chauvin's murder of George Floyd as a heinous and disgusting hate crime, and he should be punished for it?
I was thinking about him, what could he have done to deserve that?
Well, I think I covered that. I was thinking about some of the heinous crimes that have taken place in my hometown of Philadelphia. I saw where a guy like myself, a film guy, was killed within the last 48 hours. Gentleman was doing a film project on gun violence, and the very gun violence that he was documenting, he became a victim of, killed the man. And that troubled me because that could have been me when I think about it. You know, certain things touch us. And I can't imagine why anyone would want to kill this guy. Perhaps he was the victim of a robbery going awry, or he was just the victim of a serial killer who just walked up on him and killed him. So I think that's horrible. Also, at the Philadelphia Mall, which people in my age bracket know as the Franklin Mills Mall, I believe there was a shooting and maybe even a murder in the food court at that mall. Broad daylight, you know. A bunch of young ruffians started carrying on like park apes, and it resulted in gun violence. So these events are sad to me because in a lot of cases it is black on black violence, and it fuels the fear and the hatred of African Americans. And when someone like George Floyd is murdered, there are varying feelings. Feelings of sympathy on some ends, and feelings of total indifference on the other. Because again, no matter how it goes down, and despite how heinous the crime was that was committed against George Floyd, there are those in our society that see George Floyd as a member of a race of loud and vulgar troublemakers who should be exterminated or jailed forever because of all of these negative images of African Americans that are perpetuated in the media and in the rap videos and on the reality shows. And even though we know that all African Americans aren't out here carrying on like park apes, there is a small percentage of us who make the rest of us look bad. And then in the case of George Floyd, despite how horrible his death was, and it was a crime, there are those who won't get past the fact that George Floyd was trying to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. And there are those who say that George Floyd contributed to his own death because of this lack of sympathy and this hatred of African Americans that's being promoted in the media and in the rap videos and on the reality shows. The good thing, the only good thing that I could say that came out of this whole murder of George Floyd was at least the city of Minneapolis was decent enough to compensate his family, his being George Floyd, as a result of one of their officers taking the law into his own hands. And again, this doesn't bring back George Floyd, but at least the powers that be are trying to do their part to say, hey, listen, we don't represent this idiot Chauvin, but here is something for your troubles. So with that said, folks, be careful out there. There are a lot of animals out there stalking for prey. I'm done with it. Bam.